Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Singapore-Korea Business Webinar, Opportunities Arising from the Korean New Deal, co-organized by Enterprise Singapore, Korea International Trade Association, and the Singapore Business Federation. My name is Wei Ye, and I will be your MC for today. To quickly introduce myself, I am Enterprise Singapore's Regional Director based in Seoul. Enterprise Singapore is the Singapore government agency championing enterprise development. We also support the growth of Singapore as a hub for global trading and startups. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some housekeeping matters as well as share a few gentle reminders for all participants to ensure a smooth viewing experience. We will have two audio channels available for both our Korean and English-speaking attendees today. To choose the language you would like to listen to, please follow the instructions on the screen. Please locate the three dots, More, on your screen. Under Language Interpretation, select either English or Korean. Please remember to select the option to mute original audio and press Done. I'm going to stop here for a few seconds for everyone to change their settings. We will also leave detailed instructions in the chat box for your reference in case you miss it. Please use the chat box feature if you have further questions and leave your name and email address for us to contact you. Without further ado, I'm pleased to welcome our first speaker to give his opening remarks. Mr. Darius Lim, Assistant Chief Executive Officer of Global Business from the Singapore Business Federation. Mr. Lim, please. Thank you, Mr. Lim. I'd like to welcome our next speaker to give his opening remarks, Mr. Shin Seung-kwan, Senior Executive Managing Director of the Korea International Trade Association. Mr. Shin, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shin Seung-kwan, Senior Executive Managing Director of the Korea International Trade Association, KITA. Mr. Darius Lim, Assistant CEO of Singapore Business Federation, Mr. Eugene Goh, Global Market Director of Enterprise Singapore ESG, and the business leaders from both countries, I truly welcome you all to this webinar. Singapore is the center of trade in Southeast Asia, and it is called the Silicon Valley of ASEAN. Thanks to its business-friendly environment and excellent infrastructure, now Singapore serves as a global business hub where promising companies from around the world rush to invest in. The Singapore government is also successfully promoting the transition to digital nation through future-oriented industrial development policies. To attract bio and ICT talents from around the world and integrate related industrial facilities, it launched the One North project, which is recognized as a successful cutting-edge knowledge economy cluster. The Korean government has been promoting the new Southern policy to strengthen cooperation in various fields such as economy, society, and culture with the ASEAN countries, including Singapore. In addition, as shown in the recently announced Korean New Deal 2.0 policy, we strive to become a technology powerhouse in the era of the fourth industrial revolution by fostering new digital industries and investing in large-scale renewable energy sectors such as offshore wind farms. As a private partner of the Korean government's new Southern policy, KITA has promoted close cooperation exchanges with various economic organizations in ASEAN countries. This Singapore-Korea business webinar has been jointly prepared by SBF and ESG in order to strengthen business partnerships and share market information between the business leaders from both countries. The main topics of this webinar are e-commerce, content, edutech, and offshore wind power. I truly hope that the presentations by experts in each field can lay the foundation for enhancing mutual understanding of the markets of both countries and creating practical business opportunities. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone being with us today and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shin. Our final opening remarks will be by Mr. Eugene Goh, Global Markets Director, Northeast Asia and Oceania, and Director, Agritech Enterprise Singapore. Mr. Goh, please.
Thank you, Mr. Darius Lim and Mr. Shin Seung-kwan, for the insightful remarks. A very good afternoon to all. It's a warm and sunny day in Singapore, and I understand from the news that it is now also very hot in Seoul. A very warm welcome to the Singapore-Korea Business Webinar, Opportunities Arising from the Korean New Deal. I would like to first extend my gratitude to our co-organizers, the Korean International Trade Association and the Singapore Business Federation for their partnership and support. As mentioned by Mr. Darius Lim, the areas that will be discussed today, eMarketplace, cross-border marketing, education technology, and renewable energy, are some of the key pillars of the Korean New Deal, announced by the Korean government to support Korea's recovery from COVID-19 and to introduce bold structural changes to the economy. The deal clearly reflects the Korean government's commitment to invest in and expand Korea's already formidable digital capacity and move towards a more sustainable future while supporting economic growth. Singaporean enterprises need to be nimble and adaptable, given that we are a small country. We need to have a global mindset when developing solutions and also look to expanding overseas for growth. Singapore enterprises have a good track record in working with international corporates. Our familiarity with the Asian market, favorable geographical location, and our global connections put us in a good position to be ideal partners to Korean startups and enterprises seeking to expand into Asia. Singapore and Korea have traditionally enjoyed close business ties and relationships. ESGs works closely with partners such as the Korea Institute of Startup and Entrepreneurship Development, or KISET, the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency, and the Korea SME and Startups Agency to facilitate collaboration between both countries. For example, ESG facilitated the launch of the K Startup Center, also known as the KSC, in Singapore by Korea's Ministry of SMEs and Startups, or the MSS. The KSC is a launchpad for Korean startups to tap on innovation networks in Singapore. Singaporean startups can also use this to meet and network with Singapore-based Korean ecosystem stakeholders. I understand from the MSS that at least a third of Korean startup applicants chose Singapore as the destination for its outbound incubation program. Therefore, we can see that there's a lot of potential for our companies to work together, and I'm positive that this relationship can be further strengthened. Hence, it is timely to bring together stakeholders such as government agencies, companies, investors, and consumers to a platform such as today's webinar. I look forward to hearing and learning from BizMan System, GushCloud International, the Andon Group, and the Korea Wind Energy Industry Association, which represent industries that the Korean government has identified as future growth engines. I wish all participants a fruitful session ahead, and I look forward to the active discussions during and after the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. To, for the insightful sharing. Now, moving on to the industry sessions that you have all been waiting for. Our first speaker, Ms. Michel Ang, is from BizMan System, a Singapore B2B e-commerce portal operator catering to the F&B, medical, healthcare, and engineering e-marketplaces. She will share about SBF Global Connect, which can help companies expand overseas in the e-marketplace sector. Ms. Ang, please.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, a very warm welcome to this afternoon webinar, and thank you for the introduction as well as the prestigious so-called opening speech by all various speakers earlier. And yes, and of course, welcome to our Korean partners as well. So yes, growing and connecting digitally and globally. I suppose in this time of pandemic, in a state of flux that we are all in today, I believe we are all facing an unprecedented period. And of course, how do we connect and grow digitally and globally? I think that remains to be seen. So this afternoon, we are glad to share with all of you how can that be made possible easily and digitally. In fact, simply at a touch of a button. So introducing Global Connect B2B, a very exciting partnership between Singapore Business Federation as well as BizMan, right? Now, I believe SBF does not require further introduction. And of course, we do know that they have a very vast member of 27,000 across all different industries, even across different regions. And of course, Global Connect B2B was a very exciting initiative by SBF right before the pandemic to aim to actually connect members to members across industries, across region for business connection in terms of whether it's a business deal, investment, partnership, and so on. Now, and I'm glad that with this very awesome partnership together with SBF, And of course, for Bizman, as you can see that we are, in fact, perhaps the only operator in this region that owns a few very exciting, successful B2B e-market platform that we have launched as far back since 8 years ago. It started off with the F&B industry in 2013, and then with that great success, the medical industry has invited us to do the same, but right now for the doctors to buy their medical supply. And of course, we have also, the B2B marketplace for an engineering company. Right. I suppose now with this pandemic, unlike in the past, where, if you want to do business overseas, we could probably be just grabbing an air ticket, right? The next moment, we are either at a trade conference, making connections, exchanging name cards, or perhaps making an appointment with our partners or customers over a meal and a nice handshake, and the deal is done. But today, I suppose to have that done, it will be at least another 2 or even 3 years to come. Just take, for instance, the travel bubble between Singapore and Australia was even being put on hold. So guess what's next? I suppose right now, really, nothing is constant anymore. I suppose change is the only constant. So I will encourage all to embrace this new change, the new norm. So therefore, Global Connect B2B is set forth to help you to connect internationally. Right, so a very quick overview here before I show you the demo, right? The Global B2B, which is GC B2B, is a very exciting B2B e-marketplace platform to allow you to do buying and selling across different regions and industries. Now, what is exciting here is that unlike a typical B2B e-marketplace, which typically is for product, so-called sharing and selling, GC B2B allows services to be also showcased, as you can see from here, right, in different segments, different industries. Now, of course, we are glad to say that the connection is global. In fact, we have already successfully connected and actively transact with 33 countries and more. Almost every other day, we have new company on board from different countries. So we shall look forward to more real Korean companies coming on board right after this session as well. And we are glad within a very short few months period, we have a huge sign up of more than 2,000 members into this exciting portal, just mainly to accelerate, to increase their business, right? To do procurement if they would like to. And because our connection is through trade office and embassies, the network is trusted, meaning to say that, we do that first level of security check, so as to speak, for the members on board, right? And of course, it's borderless. So you will be able to see more later as I show you the login in a bit. And of course, companies are coming in to transact in terms of product and services. The portal also allows you to do proactive engagement, meaning to say that unlike many other B2B portal you might see in the market, it just allows you to create a portal or an account and be there waiting for customers to come knock on your door or to send an inquiry. But this very exciting portal you're going to see is no longer waiting to be done, because you can proactively reach out to your customers globally and even allow your team to do sourcing and procurement. And that allows you to build long-term relationship, even amidst this pandemic that we are facing right now, or so-called in a way, unable to travel out of our countries, but we can travel that digitally. Of course, the connection, the flexibility, the reliability, and the functionality of GC B2B is what brings on the great value to companies to come on board. Right. So here you can see, as I earlier shared, right, GC B2B connects in different industries, right, and different countries, as you can see from here. Right. And of course, we will be looking forward to more coming on board soon. Right. Now, of course, here you can see further into the so-called interface of GC B2B. In this case, when you are on board, you are able to see if this is your potential customer, you are able to see their company profile in terms of their information of the company, so-called activities, their industry that they are in, and even the contact details of the customers. So that allows your team to do proactive engagement with the customer or the supplier if that fits into your profile. And you can even further see if any company are looking at any investment, collaboration, or franchise opportunity, which you can be connecting with them. And of course, here it allows you to also transact with every customer in a very special manner, meaning to say that every customer allows you to actually offer different pricing, because we understand when it comes to B2B, it's no longer a standard like Lazada shopping where I look at the product, I like the item, add to cart and check out. I suppose B2B, it goes a lot more than that. So here it allows you to actually have the engagement and even that negotiation with your customer before a PO is issued. Of course, the security level is built up there. So firewalls are all built up so that transactions are secure. And of course, we do our first level of check, as I earlier mentioned, because we work with trade office and business chambers. And this portal is only by invitation. So you can be sure that people that you're transacting with within this portal are legit company with proper UEN number. Now with this, I would like to share with you very quickly the GC B2B portal itself. Okay, can you see my screen on GC B2B? Yes, great. Now, so welcome to GC B2B. So as I earlier shared, right, we are happy to say that you can see it actually goes from F&B industry to engineering to even the medical industry. So it connects different industry, different trade agencies are on board. Even 28,000 members of accountants and auditors are on board too. And here, as you can see, the 12 different boxes, it represents the different industries, yeah? And if I'll just be showing you, for example, this industry of F&B, right, you can see that they are like food services and retail, and we further break down into subset. And if we are looking at assuming here restaurants and cafes, yeah, you can see the whole string of them. And if we move on to something a little bit more technical, if we are looking at engineering industry, right, here you will be able to see the, again, subset of different kind of engineering. And here you can see, for example, medical. Now, of course, not only can you see customers or companies by industries, you can also search for them by area. So here you can see the 33 countries that I earlier mentioned. So let's take a quick look at, for example, Vietnam, right? You will have many companies here in different industries, as we are now searching by the region. And of course, even countries further from us. In this case, perhaps we like to take a look at Portugal, right? So these are all companies already on board, waiting to connect with you. And you also like to know that when you're on board, your marketing team is able to very proactively use this event page to actually launch events like webinar, just like what we're having right now, as we cannot travel. So let our fingers do the walking digitally. So you can have webinar events. You can run workshop to launch your new product. We need not wait for another 2 or 3 years to come. But yes, our portal allows you to do that. Or new product, so-called launch, or maybe a short demonstration of your new product that you like to showcase to your customers, or even any promotion that you like to share with your customers. You may make use of this so-called exciting event page as well. Okay, the last part of the demo I'd like to bring you is into the transaction page. So here you can see the transaction, right? So when any customer would like to actually make a purchase with you after discussing and perhaps negotiating with you, right? They will probably cut you a PO. And here you can see the POs in real time. And you would like to know that between yourself and your customer, you are seeing the status in real time itself. So especially if you are transacting with different countries with time difference, yeah, you can be assured that your customer need not wake you up in the middle of night just to check the status of any order. Now, being a full B2B e-market platform, we have it all covered, including financing. That is to say, your customers are able to use this financing facility to make payment to you. How nice is that? And it covers logistics as well. So in this case, you would like to know that if you are selling your product to a country that perhaps your logistic might not be very familiar, fret not, because the logistic facility here under Calista is able to assist as well. And they are global, they are worldwide, so they have services like consolidating services and even warehousing facility. Now, so here, I would like to bring you back to my slide to wrap up my presentation. Just a minute. Right, so yeah, so this wraps up the whole GC B2B eMarketplace. Being a subscriber means that when you come on board, you are able to use this very exciting portal to buy and sell, have a customer make payment to you through this portal, and of course for the logistics is well taken care of. And if this sounds exciting to you, ladies and gentlemen, come aboard, come join us today, because you would like to know that it's free subscription for all that is listening in today. Wait not, because this offer only strikes till end of this year. And of course, if you'd like to join us, please scan this QR code. So if you may just hold it here for a few seconds for interested participants to scan the QR code. And if you may like to contact us, my contact detail is here, my email as well as my contact number is here as well. So we will be looking forward to all of you to join us very soon. Welcome to GC B2B. With that, thank you. I pass the time back to the MC.
Thank you, Ms. Ang. On your screen, you will see a poll. Please indicate your interest in connecting with BizMan's system. Thank you, everyone. Our second speaker is from CashCloud International. Mr. Andrew Lim will share about how companies can utilize influencer marketing and commerce to expand overseas. CashCloud is a digital creator and media group with presence in 11 countries, and they use proprietary technology tools and global infrastructure to discover, groom, and monetize creators. Mr. Lim, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for inviting me to speak today. As mentioned, my name is Andrew Lim. I am the Chief Financial Officer of a company called gushclub. Today, I will be talking about something a little bit more unique, something that's very relevant to any sort of Korean brands that are looking to penetrate into Southeast Asia, but also, of course, to Singapore brands that are looking to penetrate Korea. In short, I'll first talk a little bit about gushclub so you can get a bit of an idea of what exactly we do. We're basically, in short, in the business of influencers. So some people call them creators, some people call them digital talent, but we effectively manage and work with influencers to create ideal outcomes for our clients, which are brands. We were founded in 2012 in Singapore, and very uniquely over the past 10 years, have expanded across 11 countries globally. So we are officially market leader in Southeast Asia across the ASEAN 6. We are in Korea, Japan, China. We are in the United States as well as Australia. And I think what makes us very unique is that our global staff, or workforce of about 220, is very acquainted and used to working in cross-border settings. And I think you'll be able to see why. So very quickly, I guess, as you see on the very left, we were founded in 2011 in Singapore. Subsequently, in 2016, we came into Korea. Our Korea office is about a team of 15, and our Singapore office is our headquarters with a team of about 30. I think what we really emphasize is that we are effectively in the business of exponentially growing the economic potential of creators. And what that means is that we're not just looking at Instagrammers or YouTubers, but we're specifically looking for talent that are able to drive very strong return on investment. So our specialty, while we do have, let's say, global celebrities like Naomi Campbell, we also have NBA stars like Kyle Kuzma, we actually really focus heavily on what we call the female commerce category. So we have top socialites, beauty creators, but also professional live commerce hosts, very uniquely positioned all across Southeast Asia. I think in short, when we look at the industry today, it's no longer where influencers are a question mark. It's where we firmly know now through many proof points that influencers are here to stay. Influencers are disrupting entertainment, but most importantly, influencers are disrupting commerce. And I think with that said, if I dive into basically what we do, first, we basically connect brands to influencers. So we are officially the market leader in Southeast Asia. So this is from an advertising standpoint. Number two is on the studio side. So we produce content. We also distribute it cross-border. And finally, on the very right, we operate live commerce. Live commerce locally in Southeast Asia, but also very uniquely cross-border from Korea into Southeast Asia. So we have many key case studies, including one key partnership with Shinsegae Duty Free, whereby we took Korean branded goods and sold it directly into Southeast Asia. I think it really goes to speak that we are not just a player in Southeast Asia. We actively connect markets between Korea and Southeast Asia. And I guess you see, for example, on the very left, we work very closely with Clio in Korea to take their products into Southeast Asia. We also work with Snow, also again, a Korean company. But on the very right, I think what you can also see is that we work not just with big box retailers like Shinsegae, but we also work with SME brands. So we actually did a key project for Hinge Korea, which is a Korean SME based in Bucheon. And we were able to bring their IP product into Southeast Asia through our flagship live commerce shows. So what does this all mean? It means that because the impact of influencers are growing, that's effectively where we are looking to establish an integrated value chain. We're looking for brand partners in markets like Korea to be able to source, then of course advertise via influencers, and effectively at the end sell directly to consumers via our influencers through our platform partners, including Shopee, Tokopedia, and JDID. And so with that said, I think we see a very, very interesting and exciting corridor that's connecting Korea to Southeast Asian end consumer markets across the ASEAN 6. So our goal and our direction is to really be that one-stop solution for Korean brands to be able to tap into Southeast Asia, as it is a very exciting market. I just want to talk very briefly about live commerce and why it's important. We've seen last year the Korean live commerce market completely explode. And our expectation and prediction is that this second half of this year will be that time where you see hockey stick growth in Southeast Asia. It's not just about the fact that it's an exciting form of medium, but it's the fact that there are already a lot of Korean conglomerates like GS, CJ, and Hyundai Home Shopping who have entered into Southeast Asia over a decade ago to educate the Southeast Asian consumer on how it works, so how a live shopping type of experience works. So our point is, it's not new. Now I'll dive in a little bit more into specifically how we see Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia from a marketing or digital marketing standpoint is actually heavily dominated by Google and Facebook today. So these click-based ads are what drives the market. However, at the same time, what we see though is that if Southeast Asia's digital advertising market is growing, let's say 5 to 10% per year, the influencer market is growing 30% per year. So you do see that the influencers are growing at an outsized pace against the click-based advertising formats, which is why we see not just local advertising, but definitely from a cross-border standpoint, a lot of Korean, Chinese, as well as Japanese brands tapping into influencer marketing as a key source of market entry. If we look at market, I guess what you're able to see here is that contrary to the idea of Southeast Asia being this huge market from an actual size standpoint, what we like to say is that the ASEAN 6 is basically on par with what we see in terms of e-commerce size with Korea. But looking forward, I guess Korea definitely has a very strong or fast pace of growth that Southeast Asia may not be as fast for. But at the same time, what's important to note is that because the level of maturity in Southeast Asia is a little bit lower than Korea in terms of e-commerce, what we say is that it's a very, very important and good timing for Korean brands to position themselves in markets like Southeast Asia. When we look at, I guess, the consumption, though, what we commonly know is that obviously Southeast Asia is mobile-based. It's mobile-based. It's also very young. So when we're thinking about the future consumer and their digital consumption trends, is actually where you see, for example, in the Philippines, you have globally leading levels of internet and as well as mobile consumption right now. So when we're looking specifically at the market potential, what we say is that the internet infrastructure is there, the middle class is growing, and thereby it's going to be a very important 5 years going forward to really figure out which brands these future customers are going to really have a strong affiliation with. Now, if we look at COVID, I mean, COVID did speed up the digital transformation or adoption across all countries globally. But what's key is that officially, COVID has been able to accelerate the digital transformation in Southeast Asia by 5 years. So right now we have over 300 million digital consumers, which is on par from a per head standpoint, on par with the US. But at the same time, what you see is that the growth potential of digital spend per person is going to grow about 3x in the next 4 to 5 years. Obviously, this is reflected in the e-commerce figures. E-commerce, whether it's Shopee, Lazada, Tokopedia, are growing immensely. What's quite interesting to note is that cross-border from Korea to Southeast Asia was typically led by Shopee, but now you see Lazada that's really aggressively coming back into the mix. And of course, Tokopedia, while they're not cross-border, they are definitely the leading player in Indonesia, which is in fact the biggest market in Southeast Asia. Finally, I do also want to touch upon content consumption. So whether it's the video streaming market or the OTT market, you see a very key hockey stick growth momentum coming in from 2021 onwards. And what this effectively means is that if we have two key elements, the rise of digital consumption from an e-commerce standpoint, as well as content consumption, coupled with the fact that influencers are on the rise, what we do really say is that going forward, the key growth driver for any brands on really maximizing their exposure as well as sales in Southeast Asia is in fact going to be influencer-led media. And thereby, I now jump into finally the key topic of today, where it's really about new retail powered by influencers. We talk a lot about live commerce, and you see on the left-hand side some examples of how live commerce is really being adopted in Southeast Asia. You have in-store, you have studio, you also have, I guess, more staged live commerce channels. You see Cheongwanjang, for example, on Lazada Live. So that's in Southeast Asia. But on the right-hand side, I guess you look at our references in China, whereby in China, every category or group of consumers has been able to see a actual local champion. So our expectation and prediction is that Southeast Asia will indeed have these market leaders and category leaders by country. And that's effectively the opportunity that CashCloud is really going after. If we look, I guess, now at the platforms, what's happening, frankly, Lazada, Shopee, Tokopedia, even TikTok are going very aggressively into this space. Lazada, for example, even has their own original production to really figure out who's going to be the next top live selling talent. But in the end, as you see, because the e-commerce platforms are embracing this opportunity, a lot more influencers are coming on board, a lot more brands are also coming on board, given that they understand that live commerce is a key method of conversion. So what are we doing? We are operating live commerce shows in Singapore. So you see our flagship shows here. We also have key partnerships, actually not just with Shopee, but also with Lazada and the other players as well, whereby our shows are provided more exclusive in-app as well as promotion opportunities to reach out to more customers. So Shopee really spends a lot of time and resources to push our shows. And I think our success is very clear. Last year, November 11th, we were actually able to, for the first time in Singapore's history, sell a car on live selling, we are also able to secure very big brand partnerships. One example is Klook, where you see it's not just products, it's also services that we were also able to successfully sell to our end customers. And so with that said, we actually don't just end on live commerce. We do social commerce as well. Social commerce being very similar to network selling that you see in the traditional form, traditional beauty world, but at the same time, how that transforms into the digital world for us right now. So we're particularly operational in Singapore and Malaysia, Indonesia. We're also looking to launch in key markets like Vietnam and Thailand by the end of this year. So what does this all mean? We'll give you an example. So we launched a product called Babyface in Singapore via social commerce. We brought on board a mega influencer as a brand ambassador. We onboarded the product onto our network selling B2B platform, Sumco. And then at the end, we had our micro influencers directly sell to consumers through all the different channels that they directly use. And with that said, Babyface was one of the hottest products that were sold late last year during the Christmas season. Now, one additional case study I want to share is our partnership with Shinsegae. So for the first time in history, we hosted a cross-border live commerce festival where from Korea, from Shinsegae Myeongdong's flagship store, we had our influencers go physically and sell at the same time. We had 5 influencers, all influencers that were based in Korea, but represented different countries. So we had Taiwan, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. And because of, I guess, the powerful partnership with Shinsegae, we were able to sell products as expensive as Halwazu to as perhaps as cheap as Peripera. Not just beauty, however, also on the fashion side as well. So how it worked was we had our pre-live promotions within the e-commerce platforms, also on social media. At the same time, during the live broadcast, we were actually physically at the Shinsegae duty-free flagship store and had our 5 influencers go live at the same time, broadcasting to a different country at the same time. So you had our in-app pushes, we had our live sessions. And with that said, I guess what we did to maximize conversion was have a 24-hour exclusive deal where customers could buy the deal for 24 hours. And finally, beyond that, we also took care of logistics, customer service. We also had additional media pushes. And I guess in the end of the day, while we cannot officially disclose stats right now, we did have a very, very successful sales figures that were also recognized by our key platform partner, Shopee. We had international media exposure, Korean media exposure. And with that said, we are looking to launch our formal cross-border channels connecting Korea to Taiwan, to Indonesia, to Philippines, Singapore, and even Vietnam by Q3 of this year. So with that said, from the Korea to Southeast Asia side, we are really looking for Korean brand partners that can work closely with us to be able to really sell their products, raise the awareness for their products into key markets in Southeast Asia. And I guess our key value proposition is that we hold big talent that are professional sellers that can get market access and raise awareness in one go. But finally, I guess I also want to talk a little bit about the Southeast Asia to Korea opportunity. As mentioned earlier, Korea is not a small market, and it's a very highly digital penetration market. So we actually had a very interesting reference point in the market earlier this year. An Indonesian company called, a brand called Kopiko, actually did their product placement on Vincenzo. And Vincenzo, so Song Joong-ki himself actually actually had a product placement. This had done very well, whereby Kopiko was not only able to sell very, very well digitally in Korea, but there was a ripple effect whereby Kopiko had actually done very well in Indonesia as well. So if we're speaking about, let's say, Singapore brands that are looking to go a little bit more global, they want to really ride that K-pop or Korean wave, our recommendation and where we can help is get the Singapore brands onto these top tier dramas, movies, entertainment shows that are distributed globally, but also get distribution and e-commerce access in Korea so that we can tap into the consumers not only in Korea, but of course have the ripple effect all across Southeast Asia. Just to wrap up, gushclub is very uniquely positioned because we operate between Korea and Southeast Asia in the advertising, media, entertainment space. And because influencers are now going beyond just raising awareness or being a form of media, but actually selling directly to customers, this wave is a very major one. after this 5-year period that ends in 2025, we will definitely see the brands that will be able to have a strong position in Southeast Asia's growing landscape. But even more, I think we're able to provide support both in Korea and Southeast Asia. So I think that's where we are really looking forward to establishing new relationships, and of course, being able to materialize these through actual commercial deals that can make a significant difference. So that wraps up my session for today. Thank you once again for listening in.
Thank you, Mr. Lim, for the very interesting and insightful sharing. I believe many companies here have gained new perspectives from your presentation. So to everyone else, on your screen, you will see a poll once again. Please indicate your interest in connecting with gushclub International. Thank you, everyone. Next, I am pleased to welcome Mr. Eric Lam, the Chief Executive Officer of Amden Group. The Amden Group is the leader in STEM education for children aged 5 to 18, having trained more than 200,000 children and teachers worldwide. He will be sharing more about the opportunities in the education technology space. Mr. Lam, please.
Thanks a lot, Wei Ye, for introducing me. Hello, everyone. It is sad that we cannot be with each other physically because of COVID, but nothing can stop good business from happening. So I'm very glad that we are here today to share ideas and to see if there are ways in which we can collaborate or partner one another. So maybe before I begin, let me just introduce myself a little bit more. Our company is more than 20 years in the area of kindergarten to grade 12 learning design. So a lot of the work that we have been doing is in the area of science or STEM, which really stands for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and in some cases, the arts as well. So I myself, I'm a writer of science textbooks used by students in Singapore and many parts of the world right now. And we are experts in this particular domain, teaching children and teachers on how to teach children, on how to solve problems using science and engineering thinking. We created this product called STEMworks, which I'll show you a little bit afterwards. And what it does is that it is a multi-award winning product and in the area of science and STEM, helping children to play as they learn. And we have currently partnerships in terms of distributors, learning centers, schools who have partnered us from Singapore, the UK, the US, China, Malaysia, Thailand, and Hong Kong. So we have no partnerships right now in Korea, and we are actually quite looking forward to see if anyone is interested to maybe have a conversation with us and see if perhaps we can work together to do something that can benefit both our organizations. These are some of the books that I've written. This is really more applicable for Singaporean children. So if they have children in secondary schools, they have to use this particular book that I have written. And these are some of the work that we have done, educating teachers in China and in Indonesia, where we share ideas on how to actually help our students be better prepared for the future right now. So let's just dive in to talk about COVID. COVID affects everyone, but COVID has also changed the way we see toys. Now, we all grew up playing toys. We have children who play with toys, but COVID has actually changed that a little bit. Now, how has that changed? Let me just share with you some of the trends that we have observed so far. Firstly, parents are beginning to think that toys are not just for playing. Toys are for learning as well. In other words, they expect the children to learn as they play. Playing alone is not enough. They have to learn something. And because of that, there's this new category of toys that are getting more and more popular right now, and that's called specialty toys. Specialty toys are things like when we were very young, we used to play with the Rubik's Cube and a lot of other things that we hope to learn as we play. So this is one major trend now that parents are looking at how toys are functioning. The second thing is because of COVID, there is this acceptance. We accept that virtual is the way to learn, that we cannot always be in this place with the teacher physically. So virtually, like what we're doing right now, is one acceptable way in which we can learn. However, we also expect physical activities to happen at the same time while we are having a virtual experience. So you see this new word coming out called phygital, which means really physical and digital coming together to form this new genre of products where I'm watching someone doing it on screen and I'm doing it on my own here playing with the toy. So there must be this kind of an interaction going along. The third trend that we are seeing is that parents are beginning to agree to buy a subscription rather than just a toy in a mall. So they don't just walk into a shopping center to just buy off one box of toy and that's it. Many of them these days, and we see that happening a lot in China especially, are paying for subscription where every month you see a box coming to your home. And then your child will open that box, explore what is inside, look at the screen, learn from there, play with the box, and so on. And this continues every month, month after month after month. So parents are beginning to see that buying subscription rather than a product is the way to go. Of course, there's also this recognition that STEM education is one of the most powerful ways to help our children identify problems and to also solve problems. So learning is not about just learning a subject. It's not just about learning to do well in an exam. That is important. Yes, that's very important. But learning is to prepare the student for a better future. And that means learning how to solve problems. And that becomes very important in more than ever because of what COVID has done to everybody right now. So you are beginning to see a new type of learning product coming out. And it consists of many different parts. So let me just go through one by one with everybody here. The first part is there must be a mix of physical and digital coming together. In other words, just buying a box and just fixing it up is not good enough. I've got to be able to do more than that. So that is one of the expectations of consumers right now on toys. Digital is important because it ensures a longer engagement with any given toy or any given learning product. In the past, when we buy a toy, we play with it, we marvel at it, we like what we do, and that's it. But now there's this expectation that we need to do more. We need to have a longer engagement with the toy. Of course, what we are also seeing is, I talked about just now, you cannot just play, you have to learn at the same time. So children must learn at the same time while they play because their timing, the time that they have is very, very precious. And also children are expected now to learn how to investigate, to discover, to design, and to invent. Now, if you look at that from a STEM perspective, it's really about science and mathematics as you investigate things. It's about engineering and technology as you design and as you invent things. Kids have to learn how to do all this when they're playing. And that's not something that's very easy to do because a lot of toys are not meeting that kind of standards. A lot of educational products are not fun to play with. So when you have that problem right now, there's a big gap. So what we did was this. We wanted to make learning, or we want to make playing very, very meaningful. And we wanted it to happen at home. So what we did was that we developed a whole series of learning products that comprises digital and a physical learning experience, what we call a lab in a box, where children learn to investigate, discover, design, and invent, even at home. So if you can see in this picture over here, in a box, you have all these components together with a digital curriculum. So it has a few parts. The first part is there's a lab in a box, where the box either you buy it off a shopping center, a mall, a shop, or it gets sent to your house. And then from there, you open it and you follow a digital curriculum to conduct a whole series of experiments. It is called Lab in a Box because we deliver the laboratory to the student's house. And once you open that box, there's digital content that awaits you. You follow the digital content, you enter into this learning experience, sometimes being guided by a digital coach. And along the way, there are activity books for you to actually fill up, do research, investigate, find something, and so on. So these three components work together very closely to make that experience holistic. Now, the important thing to note is this. While the child is playing with the toy, he is actually meeting learning outcomes that the school expects him to know when he's playing that toy. And he doesn't feel it. He feels that he's playing, but what he's really doing is he's studying without actually knowing it. So this is how we wanted to bring this experience to the student at home, the little ones especially. So this is what the digital program is going to look like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch screen right now to share with you what that digital program is going to look like. So right here, this is when you sign on to the dashboard. What you're seeing is you see a lot of these, and depending on how many boxes you bought, say for example, if you bought this box, you have a different box coming out, and then from there you will go in there and you will start your program. So let me just go through very quickly with one or two examples for you so that we can you understand what I'm talking about. I've turned off the sound because it can get very loud because the software will just talk to the child and so on. And what we do here is that once you get in, and this is the box that we are talking about, there are a lot of learning objects that guides you as you move along. So for example, over here, again, I've kind of turned off the sound. And what you have is that you will have sound going on, and then you will have animations that actually guide the students on all the different areas. And of course, when you go on from here, you will sometimes need to fix something. So what we do is that we have a video here to actually guide the student as he or she goes along and learn how to fix that particular toy or that particular learning tool. So this whole process continues, and all the way until many different parts of it is settled or discussed in the course itself. So it is a little program that will guide the child through, where there's a lot of games inside there for the child to learn, and it guides the child in an interactive way as he takes out the box and he plays with it. Of course, within this particular environment, what it does is that we also have other things here, like a little game here, where we talk about the child learning how to play their own town planning, where they have to apply many different concepts in science, and so on. So there's a little story here that they have to learn. All right. So I'm just going to jump back to my PowerPoint now.
Warren and Norman fulfilled their dreams one day when they built Steam Valley.
So once you get back here, what it does is that you will see that this is how children actually play with it when they have a computer in front of them, they follow the thing. The important thing here is that, again, I stress, studying is actually a very painful experience. What we want to do is to actually make that a little bit more fun, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more useful for the student. And what we have here is that because it is a STEM product, the team of people who are behind this, who are actually guiding in its design, are the thought leaders in the world. For example, Dr. Roger Bybee, he is one of the leading experts, and he advises us in the area of STEM education. And so that when it comes to design, it is actually well thought through. So our colleague, like Mark Salakta, he's based out in the US. He's one of those key people in the design as well. Over here, Dr. Koh in Singapore, he's one of the top officials in the Ministry of Education in charge of technology. So he advises us on how we actually use technology together with physical product to help a child learn better. So there's a whole team of people who are behind this that actually makes this work. We were quite fortunate because of the products that we have developed. We actually won a couple of awards. For example, the Finnish, the Education Alliance of Finland, they actually endorsed the product to say that it is pedagogically very, very sound. And at the same time, How to Homeschool in the United States just recently awarded us as one of those products that are very suitable for homeschool learning. So in the pandemic, this becomes extremely relevant because going to school doesn't happen all the time. So sometimes when you have school shut down, when you have parents who are a little bit worried that they do not want to send their children to school, the children still need to learn. And sometimes learning via Zoom is not good enough. So what we do is that we provide an environment for a little bit more holistic kind of learning, where it is a hands-on and I'm doing it and I'm being guided interactively by a course that guides me through. So this digital experience makes learning at home possible, even when the student is not going to school. So in times like this, it becomes a very powerful proposition for parents all around the world. What we have been doing right now is that we have worked, our partners usually include distributors. So for example, they are distributors of products to retailers, to bookstores, to gift shops, malls, hotels, and so on. So they have touch points in all these areas. Or some of them are distributors to learning centers. So for example, if many of them actually supply things or supply resources to tuition centers, learning centers at different parts of the world, at least in Asia. And also the learning centers themselves actually work with us to offer STEM-based enrichment programs as part of their offerings. So for example, right now we work with language centers in China, and we work with motivational training centers in the United Kingdom that uses our resources, our programs, and our lab in a box sets for them to teach STEM in their respective countries. So this is how it actually looks like in one of the retailers in Singapore. So one of the bookstores actually work with us, and they actually put the boxes out there, and the parents will come in and buy it and pick it up for their kids. So what do we hope to find in a partner in Korea? We hope that if they are like-minded individuals or companies in Korea, if you have good understanding of the education or the specialty toy business, we will be very keen to talk to you and see how we could work together to develop the Korean market, for example. And at the same time, if you have good connections in educational businesses, whether they are learning centers, whether they're schools, and so on, we'll be very keen to see if we could talk to you as well. Of course, if you have a good distribution network to retailers or to malls as well, you will be a group of people that we'll be very keen to have a conversation with as well. Now, in the same way, I was talking about just now that we do have distribution partners in Southeast Asia and also in China. If there is a product that you have that we could consider to integrate it into what we have, we would be actually quite interested to have a conversation with you as well to see if we could bring your product through our channels to maybe in China, in the Philippines, in Malaysia, in Thailand as well, and in Hong Kong, because we do have distributors in these places as well. So this may be something that we could work together to explore together. So if you have these connections and you have these products, it will be interesting for us to get into a conversation to see if we could collaborate in one way or another. So I'm just going to leave behind this little slide here where I have my email here, and I have the email of another one of my colleagues. So if you are interested to reach out to me, you could either go through the ESG colleagues who would be able to reach out to us, or if you want to take a snapshot of this particular email addresses, you could actually write to us, and we would be very happy to have further conversations with you. So this is all I have to share today. Thanks a lot for your time. Really a pleasure and definitely an honor to be here to be able to share with you some of the trends in the area of education technology, although it's for the young ones right now, and where this is all heading up to. COVID changes a lot of things, but what it doesn't change is the human fighting spirit. What I've learned in many different places, and we have seen a lot of good things that our friends in Korea have done, especially in the initial stages, how you overcame the difficulties in COVID. And we are all very inspired by what you have done. I think COVID is just going to make everybody closer together. And because this time around, we don't even have to be physically present in many places and still do business together, is just going to change the way the world going to work. I'm just going to end off with just one little sharing from me, which is not part of this presentation, just to illustrate what it feels like for me. Because of COVID, I have been doing a lot of teacher training in China. So a lot of Chinese teachers have actually been attending courses that are run by me, and the courses which I run are certified by a government group in one of the ministries in China. And I've been doing that from where I am right now, which is in front of a screen. And I've been speaking to so many teachers in China on the areas of STEM and STEAM education. So I just wanted to use this as an example to say that even though we are miles apart from one another, the human connection can always come together. And with that, I just want to thank you for your attention. Thanks a lot. We hope to be able to keep in touch with you.
Thank you, Mr. Lam. Thank you for the very insightful sharing on the education technology sector. I feel like I took away some key life lessons there as well. On your screen, you will see a poll. Please indicate your interest in connecting with the Emden Group. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce Mr. Choi Do-hwan from the Korea Wind Energy Industry Association, who will be sharing about Korea's offshore wind power sector. The association consists of various companies and related organizations in the domestic wind industry, including those in power generation, manufacturing, development, and construction. Mr. Choi, please.
Nice to meet you. Hello, everyone. My name is Choi Do-hwan, the External Cooperation Team Leader of the Korean Wind Energy Industry Association. It's great to meet you. And also let me extend my gratitude to the Singapore government and the Singapore Business Association and KITA for inviting me this meaningful webinar. So the photo you are seeing is the view of the first phase of the Southwest Offshore Wind Project completed last year. It is also the place where Korean President Moon Jae-in made a declaration on July 17 last year to make Korea one of the world's 5 largest offshore wind power generators. So at that time, the government presented the plans for offshore wind power generation and announced that it will promote large-scale offshore wind power development. So before the official presentation, I would like to briefly introduce our association. So since its establishment in March 2010, the Korea Wind Energy Industry Association collects opinions related the wind power industry, and we have a 125 companies, including the developers and operators and maintenance providers and manufacturers, all relevant organizations in the power industry. And also, so we are providing the statistics and also magazine by season, published a magazine by season. And also we are having a lot of a good relationship, including including the Global Wind Energy and also many the embassies as well as overseas organizations in various countries. What I am doing in my association is to meet the government and National Assembly members and also local government members and companies in the industry to talk about the market and about our policies. So this presentation that I am providing is aimed at the conversation with the foreign companies. In fact, in Korea, the wind power market itself is not seen as a very positive market. Still, we have a lot of barriers. So After this presentation, if you decide to enter the Korean market, you will also become a major influencer on the public opinion surrounding the Korean wind energy market. And there are several things you need to know before you enter this market. So this is why I am making this a presentation to foreign companies whenever it's possible. So as of 2020, so the statistics of the installed capacity of wind power generator is that 1.6 gigawatts. So in the case of offshore wind power, there are 2 commercial complexes and 4 places. And in total, we have just installed capacity. As you saw in the photo, our Southwest offshore wind farm was completed in 2020. So by 2030, so 20% of the energy generation should come from the renewable energy according to Korean Renewable Energy Policy 3020. According to this policy, the wind power is going to increase to 17.7 gigawatts by 2030 as a cumulative value. Out of this, the offshore wind power will account for 13 gigawatts. So in a Korean New Deal policy, we were supposed to accelerate this target. I believe the Korea's wind power industry and market is in its infancy. In order to expand the market, Korean government has been making various efforts. First of all, in 2017, the ruling party is announcing the bill, the one-stop shop for renewable energy, which will enhance and expedite the permits and license of the renewable energy generation, and also with another bill that is supposed to pass, this will provide more the benefits to the renewable energy generator, including wind power generation. So in Korea, in all seas, we see that the largest scale offshore wind power projects underway. Regarding the wind power generation, permits cover 4.6 gigawatt and 33 projects were already permitted. So let me show you the map regarding these projects. First of all, left side of this map and at the top, this is the Incheon area offshore. So Korea, the Southeast company, and also Ørsted, the Danish, the state company are working closely, collaboratively, and then they are doing the project. The project has not been embarked on, but still it is receiving the local residents' opinions for the project. And also you can see that the various projects underway here below this specific site. Here, Cheonan offshore wind project is entering the second stage, 400 megawatt installed capacity. For that, there is the consultation process with the local residents. In the future, 2 gigawatt project is going to be constructed here. And way below, in the Jeonnam province, the domestic company and the overseas companies are working together. If the overseas company coming in and work on the offshore wind power generation project, they will obtain a lot of opportunities here in this area. And also the South Sea, multiple projects are underway. The only hurdle for this is to have a consensus, to reach the consensus with the local communities, including fishermen. Ulsan and Gyeongsang-nam-do province in GIG, COP, OW, Equinor, those global companies are here to construct the floating wind power generation, which is very challenging project. So in the Korean market, there is the biggest the pain points for the industry is that the public opinions of the local communities as well as the fishermen. So this kind of the obstacles will be a greater hurdle for the business and project. So the central and local governments are working together to solve this issue. Recently, the Korean government set up the guidelines to improve the collecting opinions from the local residents. I think this guidance is going to be very effective in the future to make your project successful. And one thing I would like to share is that if you want to enter the Korean market, if you need to know how to get along with the local residents and also fishermen. I think this also applies to all the business people in Korea. So you need to create a certain the familiarities and closeness to these people according to the Korean sentiment. If the local residents who are leading the public opinion, if you are with them, I think you need to stay with them until the end of this dinner party or the event with them. And also in the beginning, it's a better idea for you to hire the Korean native who knows well about the Korean culture. And also when you have a partnership with the Korean people and also work on a collaborative work with the Koreans, I think this kind of a device is working well. We have the wind power turbine system companies such as Doosan Heavy Industries and Unison. And each company is now developing the wind power turbine 8 gigawatt and 10 gigawatt respectively. And also other companies, many foreign companies already established their business in Korea, including the Siemens, Goldwyn, GE, and Vestas. Many Korean companies are very much competitive in terms of providing and manufacturing the components. Many Korean companies exporting the steel products to foreign countries and also the submarine cables. However, maintenance and constructing the offshore substation and also EPC and also the wind power generation and insurance, those various areas require certain collaboration between Korean companies and overseas companies. And Korean central government and local governments are expressing their desire to attract more manufacturing facilities in the local area to provide the components for wind power generation. I think this kind of a localization is something that every country wants. And if you know more about the Korean market and Korean industry, please feel free to contact us. So this is all I prepared for this presentation.
So far, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. On your screen, you will see a poll. Please indicate your interest in connecting with the Korea Wind Energy Industry Association. We have now come to the end of today's webinar. I hope that the audience from both Singapore and Korea have learned more about the opportunities in sectors that are important in the Korean New Deal. In summary, our distinguished opening speakers have shared the potential for business communities in both countries to work together and strengthen linkages to capture growth and expansion opportunities in not only each other's markets, but also ASEAN and India. Through the speakers' presentations today, one key takeaway is that business discussions and partnerships can carry on online, even amid travel restrictions and COVID-19. For example, Ms. Michel Ang from Bizman System shared with us the importance of growing regional connections safely and securely via e-commerce, enabling you to access new trusted industry partners in the global markets for sourcing, export, and distribution. Mr. Andrew Lim from gushclub International alluded to the importance of customizing the marketing and branding strategy to specific markets, which is key to ensuring your sustainable long-term success. Given the strong emphasis on education in both Singapore and Korea, I am heartened to hear that Mr. Eric Lam of Amden Group has led the way in enabling STEM education through its STEMworks platform, and I hope there will be meaningful partnerships established soon with them in market. I also believe companies have found the insights into Korea's offshore wind industry by Mr. Choi Dok-hwan from the Korea Wind Energy Industry Association very useful. I would like to encourage each and every one of you to reach out to us, the speakers, or each other to start exploring partnership opportunities after this webinar. While we have come to the end of today's sharing, let this be the start of new business partnerships for you. On that note, we have placed our contact details in this final slide. If you have any questions or would like to find out more about the companies involved today, we will be more than happy to facilitate these developments in any way possible. Before ending my closing remarks, I would like to convey a few words of thanks. Firstly, thanks to all the speakers, Ms. Michel Ang, Bizman Systems, Mr. Andrew Lim, gushclub International, Mr. Eric Lam, Amden Group, and Mr. Choi Dok-hwan of the Korea Wind Energy Industry Association for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Secondly, thank you to our interpreters, Eugene and Jisun, who have provided us with excellent simultaneous interpretation for our Singaporean and Korean audience. Finally, my deepest thanks are reserved for our partners and co-organizers of this webinar, the Singapore Business Federation, Mr. Darius Lim and Ms. Selina Wang, as well as the Korea International Trade Association, Mr. Shin Sung Kwang, Mr. Kim Nam Kyu, and Mr. Jong Min Ho. I would also like to thank my team at Enterprise Singapore, the Northeast Asia and Oceania, and Marketing Communications team for making this webinar a smooth and successful one. With that, thank you, take care, and stay safe.